Hello, welcome to Colleen C to Serendipity. Welcome in to my new viewers and welcome back to my Serendipity subbies. Hello, today is April 7th, 2023, and I would like to bring you this day in history. After a long winter, the Lewis Clark expedition departs its camp among the Mandan tribe and resumes its journey west. The Corps of Discovery had begun its voyage the previous spring and arrived at the large Mandan and Mennonite villages along the upper Missouri River north of present-day Bismarck, North Dakota in late October. Once at the villages, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark directed the men to build a sturdy log fort. The following winter, it was a harsh one, but the expedition had plenty of provisions. The two captains made the best of their enforced halt, making copious notes in their journals and preparing maps for their route. Most importantly, they met frequently with the local Native Americans who provided them with valuable information about the country that lay ahead. As the spring came to Upper Missouri, Lewis and Clark prepared to resume their journey. Lewis penned a long report for President Thomas Jefferson that would be sent back down to St. Louis with 16 men traveling on the expedition's large keelboat. Although Lewis had yet to explore any truly unknown country, his report provided a good deal of valuable information on the upper Missouri River region and its inhabitants. His optimistical prediction an expedition would be able to reach the Pacific and make a good start on the return journey before the coming winter. You may therefore expect me to meet you in Monticello in December 1806, he told the president. In fact, the journey was more difficult and slow than Lewis anticipated. The expedition actually spent the winter of 1805 and 1806 along the Pacific coast, and Lewis did not finally meet with Thomas Jefferson in Washington, D.C. until January 1st, 1807. However, Lewis and Clark prepared to leave Fort Mandan on this day in 1805. They did not know the trails ahead and were likely filled with optimism and excitement as the keelboat shoved off and started down the Missouri with Lewis's report to Jefferson, the Corps of Discovery and their guide Sacagaway resumed the far more difficult task of rowing their small boats upstream. That night, Lewis wrote in his journal that our vessels consist of 6 small canoes and 2 large periagues. This little fleet, although not quite respectable as those of Columbus or Captain Cook, were still viewed by us with as much pleasure as those deservingly famed adventurers ever beheld theirs. As Lewis began his journey into the land on which the foot of civilization man had never trodden, he proclaimed this day of departure as among the most happy of my life. Now I would like to bring you 10 little known facts about Lewis and Clark expedition. 1. Lewis met Clark after being court-martialed by the army. While serving as a frontier army officer in 1795, a young Lewis Meriwether Lewis, was court-martialed for allegedly challenging a lieutenant to a duel during a drunken dispute. The 21-year-old was found not guilty of charges, but his superiors decided to transfer him to a different rifle company to avoid any further incidents. His new commander turned out to be William Clark, a man who would later join him on his journey to the West. Number 2, Lewis had served as Thomas Jefferson's secretary. In 1801, Lewis left the army and accepted an invitation to serve as Thomas Jefferson's presidential secretary. Lewis had known Jefferson since he was a boy. He grew up on the Virginia plantation only a few miles from Monticello, and the pair went on to forge a mentor-page relationship while working together in the White House. When Jefferson commenced his grand expedition to the West in 1802, he immediately named the rugged, intelligent, gifted Lewis as its commander. To help the young secretary prepare, Jefferson gave him a crash course in nature science and sent him to Philadelphia to study medicine, botany, and celestial navigations. Number 3, Thomas Jefferson believed the expedition might encounter woolly mammoths. Before Lewis and Clark completed their expeditions, Americans could only speculate what lurked in the uncharted territories beyond the Rocky Mountains. Even Thomas Jefferson, who'd amassed a small library of books on the frontier, was convinced the explorers might have run-ins with mountains of salt and a race of Welsh-speaking Indians, and even herds of woolly mammoths and giant ground sloth. The expedition failed to sight any of the long extinct creatures, but Lewis did describe 178 previously unknown species of plants and 122 new animals, including coyotes, mountain beavers, and grizzly bears. Number 4, the Spanish sent soldiers to arrest the expedition. Jefferson often described Lewis and Clark's expedition as a scientific mission to study the lands acquired in the 1803 Louisiana Purchase. But the explorers' central goal was to find a water route to the Pacific, which would increase trade opportunities and solidify an American claim on the far northwest. That was distressing news for the Spanish, who feared the expedition might lead to the seizure of their gold-rich territories in the Southwest. On the suggestion of the U.S. Army General James Wilkinson, a Spanish spy, the governor of New Mexico dispatched 4 different groups of Spanish soldiers and Comanche Indians to intercept the explorers and bring them back in chains. Luckily for Lewis and Clark, the hostile search party failed to locate them in the vastness of the frontier. Number 5, Clark bought his slave on the journey. Along with more than 24 enlisted men and officers, the Corps of Discovery included Clark's personal slave, York, a tall manservant, was a hit with the frontier tribe, many of whom had never seen a person with dark skin. Araucanian people of North Dakota even referred to York as Big Medicine and speculated that he had spiritual powers. Though not an official member of the Corps of Discoveries, York made the entire journey from St. Louis to the Pacific and back, and became a valued member of the expedition for his skills as a hunter. When the explorers later voted on where to place their winter camp in 1805, he and the Shoshone interpreter Sacagawea were both allowed to participate. As historian Stephen E. Ambrose later noted, this simple show of hands may have marked the first time in American history, a black man and a woman were given a vote. Number 6, Lewis and Clark arsenal. Lewis and Clark's arsenal include 200 pounds of gunpowder and an experimental air rifle. The Corps of Discoveries carried one of the largest arsenals ever taken west of the Mississippi. It included an assortment of pikes, tomahawks, knives, as well as several rifles and muskets, 200 pounds of gunpowder, and over 400 pounds of lead for bullets. Lewis also had a state-of-the-art pneumatic rifle he used to impress Indian tribes on the frontier. After pumping compressed air into the gun stock, he could fire some 20 shots, each of them almost completely silent. Despite being armed to the teeth, most of the explorers had never used their weapons in combat. A lone expedition came during the return journey when Lewis and 3 of his soldiers engaged in gun battle with Blackfeet Indians that left 2 natives dead. Number 7, Saskatchewan reunited with her long-lost brother during the journey. One of the most legendary members of Lewis and Clark expedition was Saskatchewan, a teenaged Shoshone Indian who had been kidnapped from her tribe as an adolescent. Saskatchewan, her husband, and a newborn son first joined up with the explorers as they wintered at the Hidesta Madden settlement in 1804, and she later served as an interpreter and occasional guide on their journey to the Pacific. During a run-in with a band of Shoshone in the summer of 1805, she famously discovered the tribe's chief was none other than her long-lost brother, whom she had not seen since her abduction 5 years earlier. The tearful reunion helped facilitate peaceful relationships between the explorers and the Shoshone, allowing Lewis to procure much-needed horses for his trek over the Rockies. Number 8. Only one member of the expedition died during the trip. The Lewis and Clark expedition suffered its first fatality in August 1804 when Sergeant Charles Floyd died near modern-day Sioux City, Iowa. Lewis diagnosed him with having bilious colic, but historians now believe he suffered from a burst appendix. Over the next 2 years, the expedition endured everything from dysentery and snake bites to dislocated shoulders and even venereal diseases, but amazingly, no one else perished before the explorers returned to St. Louis in September 1806. One of the worst injuries came during the trip home when an enlisted man accidentally shot Lewis in the buttocks after mistaking him for an elk. Although not seriously wounded, the explorer was forced to spend a few miserable weeks lying on his belly in a canoe while the expedition floated down the Missouri River. Number 9. Lewis later died under mysterious circumstances. Lewis battled depression and mood swings for most of his life, and his condition only worsened after his return from the transcontinental expedition in 1806. The great explorer reported suffering from money troubles, drinking too much, and struggling as the governor of Louisiana. He was twice prevented from committing suicide during an 1809 journey to Washington, but only a few days later he was found dead in a cabin along the Natchez Trace with gunshot wounds to the head and chest. Some have since speculated he was murdered, but most historians believe he took his own life. And number 10, Clark adopted Sacagua's children. During her time with the Corps of Discovery, Sacagua was accompanied by her newborn son, Jean Bestel, who the explorers nicknamed Pump, P-O-M-P. William Clark took a shine to the boy, and when Sacagua left the expedition in August 1806, he offered to adopt him and raise him as his own child. Sacagua initially turned down the offer, but she later allowed Clark to provide for her son's education in St. Louis. Following Sacagua's death in 1812, Clark became the legal guardian of both Jean Bestel and her other child, a daughter named Lisette. Little is known about what became of Lisette, but Jean Bestel later traveled to Europe before returning to America frontier to work as a trapper and a wilderness guide. I want to thank you for watching today, and as always, I want you to stay safe and stay blessed, and remember to smile, because I love you, but more importantly, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ loves you. And now I would like to bring you my last 14 positive thoughts and affirmations. 1. I matter. 2. My confidence grows when I step outside my comfort zone. 3. My positive thoughts create positive feelings. 4. Today I will walk through my fears. 5. I am open and ready to learn. 6. Every day is a fresh start. 7. If I fall, I will get back up again. Number 8. I am whole. Number 9. I only compare myself to myself. Number 10. I can do anything. Number 11. It is enough to do my best. Number 12. I can be anything I want to be. Number 13. I accept who I am. And number 14. Today is going to be an awesome day. I want to thank everybody for watching, and thank you for letting me bring you these positive thoughts and affirmations, and I'll have new ones tomorrow. Would you please give this video it really helps my channel, and also comment down below. And if you haven't subscribed, would you think about subscribing? I'm headed towards that 800 number, and if you haven't subscribed, your subscription would really help you. Come on over and be a Serendipity subby. All right, everybody, have a blessed day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.